Let's move on to the sell high guys. Throw us a name out, Cal. Who are you selling high to try and maximize value?
All right, I'm gonna say your predicted all-star starter in Jaylen Brown. I think
Yeah,
you need to get rid of him.
yeah,
Well, just sell high. He's had Jason Tatum out with the COVID. Kemba's been out with his knee thing. He's just the offense has run through him, and he's done a great job. I'll
he
be clear.
has.
His field goal has been through the roof. He has been killing it. That's one reason why his value
Yeah.
is so enhanced right now. It's just that field goal on the attempts. I mean, yeah, he's one of those kind of elite players. He doesn't really hurt you anywhere either. I mean, good points, 6 rebounds, almost 4 assists.
Yeah.
Gets this the 1.2 steals, 0.6 blocks. It's just like an all rounder.
Yeah.
But look, his usage has to come down. Kemba's back. He's may
And
not be back
we've
to old Kemba, but he is back, and Tatum's back as well. So
yeah, and we've seen it. We've seen it in like I would be trying to move on this very fast because the window to sell high is going to close pretty quickly. But maybe you still can do it based on rank and that sort of stuff. Because I know in the last 2 weeks he's been the 37th ranked player, and in the last week he's been the 64th ranked player. I know that's a much smaller sample size, but you can already see the usage starting to come down with Kemba and Tatum back into the lineup. And I just think that field goal percentage, it's unsustainable. It's not going to be him shooting like that the entire season. He'll probably still be good, but 52.5% on nearly 20 attempts is just, that's enormous. And I don't think he's that kind of a player. It's like LeBron James kind of territory. Like that's not really something that he's going to do. So I think that if you're going to sell him high, do it quickly because you're going to run out of room pretty quick. I'm going to mention one of your players here, Cal, as a sell high candidate. Based on recent form, Al Horford is a sell high candidate for me. I just don't think that he is going to. He's had a good week recently, a good couple of weeks actually, since returning back from the birth of his child. There seems to be a bump actually. He's actually been in the last week the 7th ranked player on 3 games. But I think they're going to move away from him as the season progresses. And I think he is someone we talked about. Isaiah Roby as a stash candidate. I think the reason is because either we think Horford may get moved and traded, or they're going to start to play him less and less and give the young guys a bit more of a run on this OKC roster. So I think if you can get some good value from Horford now while he's playing well, I would try and do so.
Yeah, well, he's playing well. He's been put up everything. The steals, the blocks, the assists, what he's been accustomed to kind of like back in his days in Boston.
Yeah.
I will say kind of in limited minutes too. Like he's been putting that up in like about 28 minutes a game. So
yeah, it hasn't been huge minutes, yeah.
So he still is sharing the court with some of those young guys. But I know what you mean. There is the whole aspect with him is there is that bit of a, on one perspective, it's maybe they could just play him a lot of minutes to try and get him, over the line for a trade before the trade deadline. If they do happen to keep him, there's not really any motivation to play him high minutes. So I can understand why you'd feel like that. But I'm happy to run with him for a while, unless I do get a good offer. I'm pretty happy to run with he's doing. I still feel like he's still got about 2 odd years on that contract, maybe 2 or 3 years on that contract, which is huge. So it's in OKC's interest to just kind of push him out to the world and be like, hey, he's still a good player, I swear. And try and just make that trade. So I'm 50-50 on it. It could hurt in the end. So I can see where you're coming from.
Let me give you 2 players who are ranked kind of in the similar sort of position. Horford's ranked 59th overall, and DeJounte Murray is ranked 67th. So what's that? 8 spots back. So I know who I would definitely rather have, and that's the lower ranked player in DeJounte Murray. So if you could get trade Horford for a top sort of 70 player or even top 80 player, I would definitely execute that. Look, and his ranking is boosted by the fact that he only averages 0.8 turnovers. And when that's like one of your best categories, I just think that that's just, it's just inflating your value to the point where it's not real, is what I'm trying to say.
That is true. And I think I've lost turnovers every week so far. So maybe he's someone I should be looking to get rid of.
Yeah. So that's not something you're valuing. I mean, yeah, cool. He nearly gets you steal and a block a game. The 7 rebounds, 2.3 threes from your bigs, nice, but it's definitely probably not even top 100 value. You could probably pick that up on the wire. Someone like Kelly Olynyk is giving you those sort of numbers without the assists. So That's someone I would consider if you can go off rankings trying to sell high. Show us another name, Cal, for sell high.
All right, so next sell high I've got is Clint Capela.
Okay.
He has been killing it, and I feel like he will drop off a bit. If I read it, I'm looking at the stats now. I'm looking at on Yahoo, and they've got him putting up 14.8 points, 15.2 rebounds, which is crazy. This is for the last month, specifically the last month. 2.7 blocks a game as well. Those categories, specifically the rebounds, the blocks, that is so elite. Turnovers only 1.3 a game. His field goal is 55% on 11.5 attempts. So he's really boosting you up in those three categories, which has jumped him up to the 20th rank for the last month. So do I think he's going to maintain that? I don't think so. I wouldn't put money on it. So I'd probably just try and get rid of him. A good sell high candidate for me.
He's definitely been, if you're looking at those shorter, like last couple of weeks, he's been elevated by that game where he had 10 blocks in the one game. So in the last couple of weeks, he's averaging 4.2 blocks. So that's obviously going to skew the value in shorter sample sizes.
Yeah. So if you have a fool like me who totally forgot about that, I'm looking at the blocks like, he's putting out 2.7 a game. That's elite. So that's how you get people. That's how you do the old sell high.
That's how you get people. I mean, 10 blocks, that's ridiculous. That doesn't happen very often. So, obviously he's a capable shot blocker, and he averaged 1.8. He's averaged over 1.5 blocks the last 3 seasons. So he is a good shot blocker, but just not at this kind of a level. And the rebounds, you would think with the player like John Collins on the team, are probably not going to be this high as well. So I agree. I think he is probably a sell high, especially if you're looking at those recent numbers. Like, he's the 11th ranked player in the last 2 weeks. He's definitely not going to be the 11th ranked player moving forward. So if you can sell him for a top 25 kind of player, I would definitely do so. Maybe have a swing at Anthony Davis, who is on our buy low candidates, and sort of try and sell those blocks and rebounds for a frustrated Anthony Davis owner.
I mean, you might have to attach something else, but
probably wouldn't happen. Yeah.
It's worth going for, right?
Yeah, why not? Try and do something. I did want to mention, we copped a bit of heat from one of your comments on our more recent podcast about DeAndre Jordan being compared to Clint Capela. Do you have, what do you have to say for yourself, Cal?
That comment hasn't aged well. I'll say that over the past 2 weeks, that comment has not aged well. If you look at the game today, they actually benched him as well. He was coming off the bench. They had Jeff Green starting at center.
Yeah. That was my worry. He's just not good anymore.
I think, look, the jury's out. I'm probably on the fence of you guys now. I've been proven wrong. There is still time though, but I'm kind of almost giving up.
Don't be that guy. Just admit you're wrong and move on. Don't go falling down with the shit. I saw where you're coming from, but yeah, that comment did not age well. All right, I'm going to throw another player out there who is a sell high candidate, and it is old man Chris Paul. Now, Chris Paul has been balling recently, and definitely more recently as well. But as on the season overall, I am always concerned about his health. He is someone I've always sort of worried about in terms of he's getting to the latter part of his career. He's doing an amazing job to put up the numbers he is. But in the last week, he's the 8th ranked player. The last 2 weeks, the 16th ranked player, and for the season, the 34th ranked player. And I'm just worried that that's going to drop off at some point. Like, he's still getting those elite assist numbers, low turnovers, free throw percentage is shooting 96%. That is just not sustainable. 96.6% is just, I don't think anyone's ever done that before. Like, that is absolutely crazy. So that is super elite. He's had a few games recently where he's put up over 30 points. I don't see that happening with Devin Booker going to assert himself a little bit more. We had him as a buy low. So I think on the flip side, Chris Paul's a bit of a sell high guy right now.
Yeah, I'll throw a random stat out there that just off the top of my head. I remember, I think Kobe has the record for like the most consecutive free throws made to begin the season. So it's a weird stat. He only usually shot about like, the 80s. But just to start the season, he went on a streak of like, say, 40 or so free throws. And it's something like that. Maybe obviously Chris Paul hasn't hit 100% of them, but it's something like that where just to start, you have a bit of a hot streak and it will come back down to earth.
Yeah.
So definitely expect that. But yeah, look, the 8 assists are great. If you look at he's putting up the value where you would have drafted him. You would have drafted around the 30. area. He's performing well. If anything, he's definitely overperforming. So if you want to make a bit of a trade, you could. He fits everyone's build as well. That's the good thing about Chris Paul. You can throw a trade with Chris Paul in it, and it will, unless someone's punting assists. I guess that's the one punt, but otherwise, this man fits everything.
I do want to speak on that free throw percentage one more time. The all-time leader, Steph Curry, in free throw percentage has never had a season where he shot over 93% from the free throw line, except for the 5 games he played last year where he shot 100%, but that's hardly a sample size. So, like, I know it seems ridiculous to be picking on someone who's shooting 96% free throw percentage, but when that comes down, that's going to reduce the value he has in that category. And just the health. Like if I just traded Chris Paul for someone who is going to be the same for him the rest of the season, I would just sleep way better at night because I'm just worried at any moment his hamstring's going to go or something's going to happen. Yeah. He may not. He may keep going, but just the risk factor there, if you can get someone of equal or greater value, I would definitely pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
All right. Give us one more sell high here, Cal.
All right. I've got Jeremi Grant. I've got Jeremi Grant slotted into this position because look, he has been killing it. In the past month, he's ranked at 25. So that's what I've got in front of me. And then rightfully so. He's been putting up, 2.5 threes a game, 24 points, huge. That kind of 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He puts up that 0.8 steal and 1.2 block. So even the defensive stats are really well. And look, 24 points while only turning over the ball, 1.5 turnovers a game. So he's helping you a lot. And the reason I will say sell high is because he obviously is the number 1 option in Detroit. And there will be, now that everyone else, the league kind of knows that, they will home in on him a bit more. And they're going to throw a lot of more defensive specialists at him. So you've seen it in previous years. I think last season it was a good example where Pascal Siakam had a really good hot start. And then a lot of defenses kind of homed in on his skills and it really kind of fell off. I can see that happening for Jeremi Grant.
I can see that happening too. I was very skeptical with him in that number 1 role. I did have him as we both had him as a sleeper pick. He's far exceeded our expectations to what we had at the season. To be, sort of that top 25 player on the year, basically, is just nothing I expected to begin with. And I don't want to get, this sounds like the free throw percentage podcast, but I do want to bring our attention to the free throw percentage jump from last year to this year. Last year, he shot 75% on 2.8 attempts. This year, he's shooting basically nearly 87% on 6.5 attempts. That is just an enormous improvement for someone who, just has, and last year was his best year ever shooting free throw percentage. So he's kind of one of those players that's improved every year. So there is a linear progression, but this was just an enormous jump and just completely flipped the value in that category. So I'm thinking maybe that will regress. I think it has to regress at some point. It's probably definitely going to be maybe an above 80% free throw shooters, but that's crazy. That's a huge jump.
Well, I can see the attempt still being somewhat maintained because he is that number 1 option. But I agree with you that the percentage would drop.
Yeah, definitely. So, and that will affect his points per game. And like you said, so I think the points and threes and free throw percentage are all sort of subject to dip slightly. Not a huge hit in any one category, but just those small dips will definitely drop him down the rankings. So if you could get another top 25 player for Jeremi Grant, I definitely would do so. So I like that pick. But he is playing really well, and I don't see too much else dropping from him in terms of rebounds, blocks, steals, field goal percentage. It all seems pretty maintainable. All right, my last pick for a sell high is Harrison Barnes.
Someone on my team again.
Yeah, lovely. I know. I'm picking on your team.
I've got a lot of sell highs.
Yeah, you got a few sell highs. That's why you're number 1 ranked player. No, I think, look, Harrison Barnes has never put up a season like he's putting up right now. He is averaging career highs in rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, free throw percentage. And he's playing nearly 36 minutes a night. I just think that this is something that he is not going to be able to sustain. He's currently the 52nd ranked player. His highest season that he finished was back in Dallas. He finished at the 79th ranked player. And last year he was outside the top 160. So whilst I think he is maybe having a career year, I just don't think that it's going to maintain this level. He's shooting over 50% from the field, which is just by far and away his highest he's ever done in his career. And I just don't think it's sustainable. So I think the assists are going to drop, the points are going to drop, the field goal percentage is going to drop. And as a result, probably the threes are going to drop and probably the rebounds too. So I just think that he's a classic candidate of a sell high because I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit lower than I should be on Harrison Barnes, but I just don't think he's a great player. And he's definitely not a top 50 player. So if you can get even a top 70 ranked player back, I would do so straight away.
Do you see him getting up to that 1 steal a game on average? I don't think he's ever done it before. Do you see him this being the season? No.
I think this will be like 0.8 steals. Sure, he can do that, but I don't think he's going to breach the 1 steal.
That's what he does every year. I don't think he's actually ever put up a steal on in a season, which is pretty wild. I think I've got it up now. Yeah, the best he's done is 0.8. So he's on a career high for steals.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that.
But look, I think he's got a better mold for his team now. He plays a lot more of the 4 in crunch time because Bagley's off and they throw Halliburton out there. So that's why his field goal is up a bit. I understand what you mean. It's only going to drop off in a few of those categories. I can still see him maintaining the points, though. I can see him maintaining the rebounds pretty comfortably. I don't see huge drop-offs on the field goal. It might go down a couple percent, I guess, which will affect him, yeah. So, but I think from a fantasy point of view, it's definitely a career year for him.
Oh, yeah, it's probably going to be his career year. Like the assists are definitely going to come down. There's no way he's averaging 3.5 assists.
Yeah.
And just like, I just can't see that field goal percentage staying anywhere near what it is. You know, his highest is 46.8%. He's shooting over 50%. So I think it's going to come closer to 47%. And that will drop his scoring. You know, if he puts up the same amount of shot attempts, his scoring is going to drop as a result. So I think the shot attempts will be there. They'll be the same. But just that percentage, it just affects a lot of different things. And when he doesn't score as well or as efficiently, there's just not as much else there to support his value. Like you said, the steals aren't there, the blocks aren't there, the assists I think are going to drop. So I think he is someone who definitely fits the mold of a sell high. Sorry to pick on your team there, Cal.
That's okay. Look, I'm taking offers.
Well, look, that's probably a reason why you're the number 1 player in our league at the moment, and I've got a few buy low guys, so that's why probably I'm sitting a bit low in the standings, but hopefully we can make it up. Again, if you are listening along on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video. Follow us along on Twitter at Ball Boys NBA, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you later. Bye.